This is my student ID. It expired some moons ago, as you can see, but I still don't feel like I really graduated. In March 2020, within one long day, I said goodbye to my friends, I packed up my room, and I moved back home to quarantine with my parents. I then completed my exams and I graduated from my bedroom. Oh, and I got my diploma in the mail. It was not really how I imagined it would be. I always imagined graduating university as a high point in my life, as something to work towards and a time of celebration. But with classes moving online and, well, graduation getting cancelled, the whole experience has been, what's the word? Depressing, anticlimactic, and lonely. In an effort to feel less alone, I decided to reach out to graduates from around the world to see how they've experienced this whole thing. This is the story of the class of 2020. How would you summarize the last months of university?
Strange. It was strange.
Eventful.
Weird.
Different.
Stressful. Incredibly stressful. The practical classes, most of those classes were cancelled, so it's missing out on those practical classes where you get to learn things that you will have to do in a hospital, like taking blood from someone or all sorts of assessments that I haven't been able to practice because of COVID. So it's just like the unknown of not knowing if you will graduate when you're supposed to because of not being able to fulfill your requirements.
Uncertainty. I know everyone always uses the whole like in these uncertain times and all that kind of stuff, but it's really just like there's so much not knowing and like not knowing what the future is going to be like, and just like uncertainty with just so many different things. So I think that part of it is just kind of crazy.
Let's go back to March 2020 when the world basically shut down. How did this look for you?
Our university moved when we were on our 1 week holiday in March. So we all left, and then like 2 or 3 days into our holiday, they were like, "Don't come back."
With the university and like closing down, like it's like I didn't really see like my friends. I was unable to even say goodbye to them. Yeah, so that kind of like affected me. I had some moments later on that I was sad.
So suddenly you're at home and the world kind of starts to implode, right? How was studying for your most important exams in this environment?
I definitely, at the beginning, I was those terrible people, baking all the time, and they were like learning new languages and exercising. I was definitely one of those people at the beginning, and I could not see how people were feeling so isolated. I was like, I'm doing great, I'm doing fine. And then about a month and a half in, I was like, oh, and I really just like stopped doing my assignments like the way I normally would. I really think that I didn't put as much effort as I probably would have if I was on campus. I think it really transitioned to just get whatever assignments you need to get done and turn it in and, do kind of like the bare minimum, which is really not super my style. But I think that it kind of got to a point where it was like, just do whatever you need to do in order to graduate and let's not worry about anything else.
I really just did whatever I had to do in a kind of mechanical way.
I procrastinated a lot, and I procrastinated more than what I would do under normal circumstances. And I cannot really, the first reaction is to blame myself, because of course it's your choice to procrastinate. Like, you chose to watch Netflix rather than, just sit down and write and write and write. But in the end, you also have to understand the circumstance. I was never able to study like I normally study what I study around my friends that kind of study the same thing, and I just usually discuss with them, and that just goes away once you either go home or just are closed in a room for months and months and months.
I think I associated my room with like studying and resting, and like it was really hard to focus. So it was more time consuming. And then because I couldn't really like talk to my friends that much about like, oh, how are you preparing for this? And like having tips, that it was more stressful just like not knowing if I was doing the right thing or not.
So let's talk about the moment you handed in your last exam, your last assessment, whatever. How was that moment for you?
When I had to like focus on getting my work done, it kind of didn't seem like it was that bad. But then when it was done and I wanted to celebrate, it was just like, okay, but how can I celebrate? You know what I mean? And that's when I realized, like, shit, I'm done. I finished uni. Have I actually graduated?
When it was done, I submitted the last assignment, and that was kind of an event. But that also made me feel like, oh shit, I'm not there to celebrate with anyone. And that made me sad, like properly sad.
The moment I handed in my dissertation was like so, how can I say that? Underwhelming, you know? Because I just like submitted it online and I was like, okay, well, that's it. You know, like I finished uni, I guess.
What I mostly felt was that I could not really I did not feel like celebrating in the first place because, you know, the situation was very grim, and I knew that a lot of people around me had really suffered during the crisis, and it kind of felt guilty to be celebrating in this setting.
And when it comes to the graduation ceremony, I mean, it's supposed to be this great culmination of the past 3 to 4 years, right? So, what did yours look like? I mean, did you get one at all?
We didn't have a graduation ceremony. It was supposed to happen in, I think, June, end of June. And yeah, we didn't have it. It got cancelled. We then got told that it will happen at some point in November or whatever, which obviously didn't happen. And now they're telling us that like we're actually going to be able to attend the ceremony next June. They will include like all the people who didn't manage to graduate physically. But I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, I kind of moved on now, you know?
With online graduation, I think will be fun, will be different, I guess. I mean, it's still something. It's still something. It still give you some recognition of what you did. So yeah, generally, yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have the in-person graduation. I'm also like a first generation university student because my parents didn't attend uni. Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been like, yeah, I'm sure like my mom would be like so happy. I mean,
I'm getting a virtual one. I don't know what to expect. But I think it's nice to at least have something where you can see like your classmates like together and stuff, like kind of celebrating something.
It was a very sad thing over Zoom. It I mean, because most of the speeches did mention COVID, and then the end of it would just be like an attempt to, like, you know, one of those things, oh, but you guys are graduating and you're entering the new world. So no, I really did not like that. I think that rather the graduation ceremony, what I'm really sad about was that I did not get to have my last semester there. That's what I missed more than just the mere graduation, just the whole atmosphere and having the chance to say goodbye to the city, but mostly to the people.
Obviously, like, I would be looking forward to having a graduation ceremony. It's not like the highest priority on my list. More, it was just like the big thing for me about graduation ceremonies was that you just don't know how many of those people you're going to see again, because people are going to move, they're going to leave, you know, people are going to get married, and like everyone just has like huge plans for the future, and you just don't know how many people are going to be in the same city at the same time. So that I kind of think was the big thing for me. It was less really about the diploma and just like that was kind of a final moment for us all to have together. And then just the other thing is I think that when you graduate, you often have a lot of like support from like the people around you who graduated, and everyone right now, a lot of people are at home with their families. And so you really don't have that kind of like sense of we finished and we're moving on. It really just feels like everyone took a step back. So that's definitely difficult because everyone's just like in a different place than they would be.
To be honest with you, I'm not incredibly like eager to. It's not like I don't want it, but I would have cared more about not having to skip the rest, like celebrating with my friends when I sent my last essay, you know, my thesis, whatever, or I don't know, just enjoying the end times. I cared more about that.
So for me, the pandemic completely changed my plans for the future. Did it change your plans as well?
Not to that extent, to be honest. I was planning to, yeah, I really want to like become a therapist in the long run, so that didn't really change.
Not that much.
Actually, no. It didn't really change my plans, but it changed like how they happened, I suppose.
I initially was planning to spend this year more about like learning, developing personal skills in a more personal way. And I was hoping to look for a stage or an internship to also develop my professional skills. I decided to put those plans on hold, and I decided to apply for some master programs.
COVID has changed my future. I was meant to get married in August and then move to America, but in the end, I am still getting married, but I am now going to stay in Australia for a bit and work here.
Now I'm strongly considering doing a postgraduate, even though I was strongly not considering it before lockdown and everything, because I feel like this is honestly the worst time to look for a job or have it.
Yeah, and how has that been? I mean, searching for a job.
That's honestly, I don't know if I just find it hard and complicated and confusing because it's the first time I do it properly. I mean, but Jesus, it is. Yeah.
I have a job at one of the big hospitals already lined up in Melbourne, which is very exciting.
It's tough for sure. I mean, I was lucky in that I applied to jobs back in October, and so I had a job in December, which was great because I had a sense of relief kind of going into it. But I do have a lot of friends who are currently looking for jobs, and the job market is not great right now, you know, and it's definitely difficult. Depends what you studied to. You know, if you're a nurse right now, I think you're okay. But if not, like, it's really difficult for people to find jobs. A lot of places aren't hiring right now, or if they are hiring, everything is remote. And I think that that's just like one of those aspects of like, you kind of think I'm going to graduate and I'm going to get a job and everything will fall into place, and that's just not kind of how it is right now.
How are you feeling about the future right now?
There's so many things I can do. At the same time, oh my God, the world is full of possibilities. I feel like Aladdin. I'm on the flying carpet, but I can't feel the breeze right now, and I can only look from afar. To be honest, it scares me right now more than making me positive.
I feel hopeful still, but also stressed in a way. I know that, for example, the sector that I study for is already quite competitive, but now it's even more so because, of course, it's just much more difficult in this economy and mostly in this atmosphere. And also just because I don't want the rest of my 20s to be characterized by a global pandemic that, you know, does not allow you to travel.
And I'm excited for what's to come, I guess.
I would say optimistic. I'm kind of optimistic. Yeah, generally I'm an optimistic person. I don't want to lose hope because that's what drives me. So I would say optimistic.
Optimistic, I suppose. Lately, my life has changed so much. I moved to a new city. I completely changed like all my studies. Yeah, so I need to keep optimistic. Otherwise, like this whole situation of Corona and lockdown will just like bring me down, and I wouldn't be able to study at all, I guess.
Hopeful, I think. I feel like, you know, even though there's a lot of very stressful things going on, you know, there are always good people in the world. And it seems really optimistic to say that, but I also think that there's just like going to be a lot of good change now. And I don't know what it will be, but I have to stay hopeful. Otherwise, I think that things won't happen. I think that if I'm too negative, then it really just would be hard to do anything.
Well, graduation is the final growing experience that is supposed to celebrate all the others, and during that experience you're supposed to acknowledge how much you've grown in your, let's say, 3 years. Okay, well, Jesus, did I not? Yeah, you know, it's like I haven't had a graduation. and you haven't had a graduation, but personally, I don't know about you, this was a very big growing experience, probably the biggest one, for better or for worse. And I have spent a lot of time acknowledging how much I've grown. A long time. Maybe more than I would have loved to, because I had too much time to think. But I have. So we got a graduation that was unlike anyone else. And I guess congratulations to us.
Yeah.